Hello, everyone. I must welcome you all to our webinar series, Future You, Set Your Career Compass Right with Experts Insight. And I'm Kalyani, your host for today's webinar. So today our topic is how to build a career in human resource management. And we will be talking about key points such as roles and responsibilities of a human resource manager, career progression of the speaker, and how an MBA played a crucial role in that, the kind of profile that recruiters are looking for, busting a few HR myths, crucial tips on resume writing, skill sets that are suitable for HR function, and more. So let's welcome our speaker today. We have Dsouza. He's a senior manager HR at Reliance Industries, and he's an alumnus of XLRI Jamshedpur. Welcome, Dsouza, and thank you so much for being here today for this session.
Hi everyone. Hi Kalyani. Thanks for the invite and good morning to all.
Let's start from the beginning. So from engineering to an MBA at XLRI and now at Reliance, what made you decide to do an MBA? And so obviously, most of our aspirants and attendees who are attending this session, most of them are also from engineering background. So so if you could just take us through your decision-making process to XLRI. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I'm a mechanical engineer. Before doing my MBA, I was working in a pure design engineering role. At that point of time, I always wanted to go for a higher education. It was more of an aspirational thing. I knew I did not wanted to do a master's abroad. I wanted to be in the country, and the decision was mainly between MTech or MBA. And I would use my experience at my workplace to decide on if a more technically deep education would help me, or should I go for MBA, which would help me build a better commercial know-how. So a
Mm.
few things played a role. When I looked around at few of the younger leaders in my organization, I would see that they are from an MBA background, which is helping them take up those roles and have that commercial understanding of how the business works, which help them contribute and add value in that. Second thing is, in my dealings with my seniors, I would have a lot of technical focus on how we can have the best product, how we can have the best technical specification, but not a lot of thought on will it make commercial sense? What is the end use, and how can I use the minimum amount of resources to build a solution?
Mm.
So that's when I figured out that you need to have, I think an MBA would add a better value to me as compared to an MTech in terms of better understanding of the business and industry as a whole. And that's when I decided to do my MBA. And then I joined
Mm.
IMS. I took the competitive
Yeah.
exams, and
Mm.
that's how I landed at Excel.
Okay. Yeah. So can you just briefly tell us a little bit about your XLRI Jamshedpur journey and how it kind of created this career path for you that you are on now? And also, if you can talk about a little bit about while you have been at Reliance Industries, how in your day-to-day job, the lessons and the learnings that you have had during XLRI days, how is that helping you? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I'm from an engineering background. The only reason I got a chance in Reliance's HR program because I came from an Excel HR background.
Mm.
So MBA allows you to explore new career options. It could be in HR, finance, operations, marketing. So that's one aspect where MBA helped me to carve out a new career path. If I'll go to the technical aspects
Mm.
later.
Okay.
At Accelera, it was a time for me to reflect on how I want to use those 2 years. First year, I'll say all of you who would be joining MBA schools would realize it's more of a curriculum and college driven thing. You won't have a lot of time for yourself. But
Mm.
in the second year, I decided to use that time to grow my hobbies. I practiced piano, I joined the drama club, I
Mm.
participated in college sports activities, and it was a wonderful time to grow personally and interact with a lot of people who came from different cultures, different places across the country. So that was a unique experience which I had at Excel, because so much of cultural diversity, so much of new ideas you won't necessarily find if since I was in a local engineering college as a localite, where I used to
Mm.
travel daily and a lot of people were around from the area. Now, I'll talk about what is it that helped me from Excel to add value to my role in Reliance. So there are a few things. There are some, what do you say? Uh, there are some subject related things which are core to HR.
Mm.
So, one key thing is the legal aspects, which is industrial relations. XLRI has a big focus on ensuring that all the students who pass out, they have a good understanding of all the labor laws. And when you deal with people on a day-to-day basis, there are a lot of legal aspects which come into play, depending on if your organization is coming under the Factories Act, Industrial uh, Relations Act, Industrial Disputes Act, etc. So that is one thing which helped me. Second is, how do you go about envisioning the HR strategy? Where is it that HR adds value? What are the people requirements in terms of what are the training needs? How do you design the compensation philosophies? How is new technologies like data analytics, etc., playing a role? So Accelera helped me learn that. But other than that, the MBA program has a focus on other aspects of other disciplines, such as you get a thorough understanding of operations, you have courses on marketing, you have courses on international management, which makes you understand the other functions as well. So when I am sitting on a table having a conversation with, say, a sales head, or if I'm having a conversation with the finance head, I know what is the value that the person's function is responsible to add. What are some of the restrictions, or what are some of the uh, attributes that the person
Mm.
needs to manage in its role. So it helps me understand the expectation better of the business and add more value. So this
Mm.
is where it has helped me.
Okay. Yeah. Can you also tell us something about what are the learnings from this journey, as in your MBA to your Reliance Industries? Things that you have liked to do differently, or things that you did right and it worked out for you? Is there anything like that?
Okay, so
Yeah.
the things which did work out well for me is, I took every opportunity to, say, be part of committees and try and organize events. I had an inclination towards operations, so I was part of the operations committee, where I worked with the team to uh, organize interventions, events, lectures, etc., to build more of a thorough understanding for the students as to what operations as a field is. So
Mm.
it gave me an exposure to a different field.
Mm.
Second, there are a lot of case competitions which are organized by companies. Now, many of these case competitions, they stem from the current uh, issues or the current challenges which the companies would be facing. So if you participate in those, if you work on those judiciously, you get an understanding of how you can build an approach, or how you can work within teams to solve the problems, actual problems of the industries. You get to work on marketing strategies, you get to work on go to market strategies. You all, like, depending on how interested you are and to the depths that you explore that case competitions or any such projects which come to you, you
Mm.
get to work on financial forecastings also. So these are
Okay.
not typically things that you would be able to uh, uh, work on as part of your curriculum. You need to
Mm.
step out, and based on which college you are on, a lot of companies would be coming to the campus with a lot of interesting activities. So ensure that worked well for me. I
Mm.
participated in those, and that helped me broaden my understanding, build more collaborations with not just HR folks, but the other business management folks in within XLRI.
Okay. Next question is any particular internships or courses we have to do for HRM before joining MBA? Is there anything that would help? I mean, you did not do
So,
anything, I believe, but yeah, in case somebody would like to, is there anything that somebody can do just to give a boost?
so I'll say general reading about
Mm,
what HR as a function does. If
mm,
you're going for an interview, you should have an understanding of what industrial relations is. You should have an understanding of how the entire performance cycle works. What are the different ways that organizations are rewarding their employees, and
mm,
if you are able to build an appreciation of how HR as a function is adding value to the business, going to say an interview like an admit interview with that understanding puts you a step ahead of someone who is looking to do an MBA and would not mind doing HR as a specialization in that. It shows that you are invested in it. So having an understanding definitely helps. Having an understanding how it contributes helps. I don't know if going into details and trying to see
mm,
what each function is going to add value, because it may not be expected that you have such a deep understanding unless you are coming from an HR background. If you have
right,
already
yeah.
worked after your undergrad in an HR function and then you want to do an MBA,
Mm.
then definitely the interview may get into all the specifics of different verticals and HR.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the roles and responsibilities specifically with human resource management. Is it industry agnostic, or is it like according to the industries you have to kind of uh, have different the roles change and also the responsibilities, and also do you have to kind of learn something or update yourself every time you change your industries? So yeah, so if you can just take that roles and responsibilities, and then if it is industry agnostic or not. Yeah.
Okay, so I would talk about the broader functions that
Hmm.
fall under the
Hmm.
cohort of
Yeah.
HR.
Hmm.
And after that, I would get into if it is industry agnostic or how being in an industry helps you add value over time.
Hmm.
So, first, as all of you may know, it's recruitment. Whenever
Hmm.
you have a requirement within the business, what are the different talent sources which you can tap into to get talent into your organization? Uh, how do you ensure that the talent or your sourcing initiatives are reaching all the eligible talent to ensure that you are not leaving out any potential cohort who would be a good addition to your team?
Hmm.
What kind of an industrial understanding do you have? Which kind of profiles, if you're hiring from, what kind of backgrounds you're hiring for, would add the most value in
Right.
your organization?
Hmm.
Next is talent development. So once you have onboarded a person, not necessary that an employee has all the competencies one needs to deliver in that role. So
Okay.
training needs identification and learning and development. Identifying the learning needs, building programs around that, and deploying those effectively. That becomes one of the core areas. Next is organization development. Today, my organization has certain requirements in terms of what my leaders and employees need to know, which may not be just technical aspects, but leadership capabilities, some of the soft skills, prioritizing, planning, etc. So, taking a stock of that, having a discussion with the management to see that your next level of leaders are competent and wherever they need help with their development, ensuring that there are programs, interventions which are structurally driven
Hmm.
to ensure that you have a good bench strength or good leadership pipeline. Second is succession planning within this talent development cohort, where say tomorrow one of your very senior leaders for some reason is either leaving or is not available to work. You can't have and if you have no backup plan, that is an organizational risk that someone in such a senior position is uh, that position is no longer that person is no longer there. So
Hmm.
ensuring that you have a structured succession pipeline, so that if there is any exigency, You are managing that risk by ensuring that the person next to that the next in line is properly trained and equipped to ensure that they can take up the role as and when required. So
Correct.
succession planning becomes an important aspect. Next, after talent development, you have performance and rewards. How do you, as an organization, communicate to the employees what is it that they should work on over the year? How is it contributing to the organization's goals? And then, how are you rewarding performance? What kind of feedback mechanism do you have compared to
Mm,
the market? What is it that you are trying to how is it that you are compensating your employees, and what is your employee value proposition? That is something that will come under PNR.
mm,
Another aspect is industrial relations. If what kind of labor laws are applicable to your organization, and based on that, how are you managing the compliance so that there are no risks associated from that, and
okay.
ensuring that all of the all of the labor aspects are taken care of.
Mm,
After that, there is diversity and inclusion. When
mm,
you have employees coming in, there is a lot of diversity. People differ, and
mm,
you have to ensure that these differences are not becoming barriers. So how do you build an
okay.
inclusive workspace to ensure that everyone is able to contribute to their best possible ability, are feeling included, welcome, and forming a connection with the team and the organization?
Mm,
Lastly, there are two more. One is business partnering. Now, whatever programs, say learning and development, organizational development, recruitment, etc., processes, practices they are building, there is a business partnering team which is responsible for the employee life cycle for a set of employees from a particular business unit or a function. So this business
mm,
partnering team will ensure that all of the programs are driven, practices are implemented across the business organization. And lastly, there is
mm,
HR operations,
mm,
which ensures that all of your data is maintained properly, the dashboards, reporting, analytics,
mm,
etc., comes into play, and you are making decisions based on data. So
mm,
these are broadly the functions within HR, and based on which function you are in, your roles and responsibilities would differ accordingly.
okay.
Now, if
Huh.
this is industry agnostic,
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
if this is so there are two ways. One is,
Hmm.
since these functions won't necessarily change when you go from one organization or one industry to other, you can say that there is a lot of fungibility when you talk about
Okay.
HR as a function.
Okay.
However, say you are working in a manufacturing organization which believes, or an organization which is manufacturing heavy, you manufacture all your products in house. So the kind
Hmm.
of manufacturing talent you have is going to make a lot of difference to your manufacturing strategy. What kind of industrial relations team you have to ensure harmonious operations of your shop floors is
Hmm.
going to make a lot of difference. But
Right.
if you are outsourcing your manufacturing and laying a lot of focus on branding your products, and that is going to be your organizational strategy, then say
Hmm.
quality control, procurement, marketing becomes more of the areas of focus. So based on what kind of operational philosophy you have, that will a person coming from that background or an organization with similar strategy would help add more value, because they are able to appreciate the finer aspects of such things.
Hmm. Okay.
If there is any other question which I have
Hmm.
missed, I would
Yeah.
be
So no.
happy to
So the thing is,
help you.
there are quite a few questions here from the attendees about how do you decide that I want to go for HR function or I want to go for consulting and also. So let's first take one or two questions, and then we can get into the skill sets that are required to excel in this field, so that at least and if you could just tell us also like some of the skill sets that are must and some that they can definitely develop while they're in the B school and all that, but definitely the things that they would require to have in order to have a nice, good, smooth career in human resource. So yeah, so there is a question about how do I know whether I want to join MBA HR or marketing since I'm a fresher. So how do you decide really? Unless somebody else is making that decision. That is basically whichever top B school is you're getting in. But how do you select otherwise if you have the options?
Okay, so that's a difficult question. I can't make the decision for you.
Yeah.
And so one advice which I can give is you should look at leaders whom you have worked with so far, or just any organizations which you like, and based
Mm.
on, go and visit the LinkedIn pages of these organizations, try and see who are the leaders, what are they doing, what are they talking about,
Mm.
whose journey inspires you the most. Visit the
Yeah.
profiles of a lot of people in marketing, a lot of senior persons in HR, and see how their career has been. What is
Mm.
it that they have talked about to be working on? What is the kind of impact you see, and where do you see yourself?
Mm.
This is a easier approach. The second is you will have to reach out to these people and try and talk to them, have those conversations, maybe your
Mm.
seniors from college, undergrad college, who would have gone along this career paths. Although I would say that would be a difficult thing to get time from such
Mm.
senior leaders. So
Correct.
LinkedIn kind of makes all the data available currently, so that's
Mm.
one approach that I would uh, tell you. Second is you can visit the curriculums of all of the good colleges
Mm.
programs. Like you can look at what is it that Excel HR or MDA HR or TIS HR,
Mm.
whatever the HR colleges are, what is it that their curriculum entails. And similarly, the general management programs or a MBA
Mm.
specialization,
Correct.
what is it that that entails, and what is it that excites you
Mm.
most. Try and read a few case studies from HR, from marketing, and see in whose shoes you would want to see yourself going
Mm.
ahead in the future, and that would help you build a lot of clarity on where is it that you want to go.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
hope it helps.
Yeah, yeah. There's a question about I'm a law student with what management course should I do, HR or marketing? And I want to do something of my own in future after having good experience. Yeah, it's a law student. Yeah, any tips for that person? Of course, it'll be your own individual decision at the end of the day. But yeah, any tip to help the person to take that decision?
So firstly, you should have the end goal in mind. If it is something that
Hmm.
you want to do for your own, like if you want to do a
Hmm.
business, what would that business be in? What kind of services would that be delivering?
Hmm.
Marketing or HR? There are options to start businesses in both of these fields.
Hmm.
So unless you have the last bit figured out, I
Correct.
think any information would not
Mm.
add value. Again, as I spoke earlier, you can see between marketing and HR, how do you decide? I just spoke on that. So you can use
Mm.
that approach.
Correct.
That
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
And MBA is going to equip with you with the tools required to manage your own business, regardless of if you do it in HR or marketing, because all of the programs cover the uh, basic aspects of all the functions, whether it's operations, whether it's HR, finance, marketing, or
Mm.
technology. So
Right.
that's rest assured that your MBA program will take care of all the requirements.
Mm. Okay. So yeah. So let's talk about the skill sets required. Three soft skills, three hard skills, and of course, along with that, there is also one HR myth that we would like to bust, which is a lot of people think, let me take HR because there's less mathematics there. Yeah. So can you also put that on the skill sets? Do you really require how much of math, how much of working with data is required, or how much of good you need to be good with numbers? So yeah, so maybe the three hard skills and then three soft skills. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll take the hard skills and soft skills separately,
Okay.
and I'll take this maths question separately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's up to you how much value you can add in a role with the
Mm,
tools that you are equipped with. So definitely I have not used integrations and derivatives in
mm,
this role so far, at least. because
Mm.
maybe I need to think differently how to use those. But in data analytics, I have done ANOVA analysis, I have done t-test to ensure that whatever programs I have done, how it has impacted the larger employee group, what are
Okay.
the uh, subgroups which are there, where there are a lot of correlations between what the target impact of the program was versus what has been. So
Mm.
it's now data analytics as a field is making its way into a lot of different functions, and HR is not left behind.
Okay.
We talk heavily. So in hard skills, I'll put data analytics as the first.
Okay.
You have a
Mm.
lot of employee data flowing in, and how you use that data to make informed decisions, say to predict attrition or to understand in the larger scheme of things, who are the employees whose performance has been consistent, how do you numerically represent that and try to come up
Mm.
with insights in making your decisions on where you should move people. How has the performance data of a person who has been in a particular team versus the KPIs of how the team has achieved its KPIs, how
Mm.
has that correlated? These are the kinds of things that you can do if you have the proactiveness to take such activities up, and if you have the skills to do that. So data analytics I would put
Mm.
first.
Okay.
Second, I would put the knowledge of industrial relations. You need to be thorough with labor laws, because during your interactions with
Mm.
employees or your interactions with contract workforce, it is essential. Although there will be practices in place by the organization, by the COE teams, which would ensure that the compliance is met, you having that understanding would make a lot of difference in terms of how you understand certain processes, how you are able to envision some of the roadblocks that will come if you do something, what will be the larger implications of your action today for the organization tomorrow. You will be able to understand that. And lastly, having a understanding of the HR processes, like how do you
Mm.
go about doing a training needs identification, the entire process, how do you design the training calendar, how do you design the performance calendar, what are compa ratios, how does pay banding work, and all the mathematics behind that to come up, because you will be managing, say, the performance cycle or the reward cycle for a large group of people, and without the domain knowledge of this and the right mathematical tools, you will not be able to effectively uh, and fairly run these programs. So
Mm.
these
Okay.
three aspects
Mm.
are important. In fact,
Okay.
to let you know, I knew Python. I have not used Python in my engineering role where I was working as an engineer.
Mm.
But having joined here, I think in every role that I have been so far, I have been using Python, whether it is to do
Okay.
analytics, whether it is to prepare career maps, whether
Mm.
it is to plot organizational charts. But I write
Mm.
my own code to automate things. So it's
Okay.
in terms of soft skills,
Mm.
the biggest one is communication. Whatever policies the organization has, whatever practices the organizations are coming up with, it is up to you to ensure that you are clearly communicating that to the employees so that there is no ambiguity. They are well equipped to take benefit of whatever these policies are. They are well aware of what is to be done, and whatever the management or the business wants to convey to the employees, it is being conveyed right, without and management of change. You should not drastically bring a news which is going to shake them up. So how do you manage
Mm.
these things?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
communication becomes a very important aspect. Second is stakeholder management.
Mm.
You would be handling conflicts between managers and employees. You would
Mm.
be you have to convince the managers to take up employee development as one of the key factors which is going to drive business. So how do you go about doing that? How do you convince the employees to invest in their own selves? And how do you have a conversation with them to understand their career aspirations and guide them on that. So there are
Mm.
different stakeholders from the business aspect. You would be dealing with a lot of external stakeholders also, campuses, placement committees for that matter, if you are in recruitment role, etc. So dealing with a lot of stakeholders and how you manage that becomes important.
Okay.
Lastly, empathy. Whenever an employee is getting in touch with you regarding any issue, the issue can be anything. It's not necessary that in the gamut of organizational offerings, there is a solution necessarily which is visible to you, which can help the employees. But how do you handle that conversation is going to make a lot of difference on the employee experience from an organizational perspective, and how the employee is able to cope up with whatever the employee is suffering with.
Mm.
So empathy becomes a critical aspect of any HR's work or characteristics. So
So tell
these
me
are,
something, the soft skills that you spoke about, apart from the communication bit, the others, wherein you are trying to understand or you need empathy and all that. What if the person who is really good with the hard skills but does not have skills such as to relate with others? How do you develop a skill like that? Something that is pretty much inborn.
I think that comes more with introspection
Mm.
and feedback. So if
Mm.
stakeholder management, I think once you get into a role where you require to do a lot of stakeholder management, you may struggle in the start. That's where your team will help you, but then you will be able to cope up. Empathy is more of a characteristic. So I think that comes through self-reflection. Uh,
Mm.
in your dealings with the employees, if you sit and reflect how it would have impacted him, what is it that you
Mm.
could have done better in order to help the person. So then that kind of it would then start becoming a skill where you would be able to utilize that, and you will be able to help employees better. So it comes with time, but it's
Mm.
definitely required if you're in an HR role.
Mm. Okay. Okay. There's a question about. Okay. Can you please explain how the HRM in startups is different from other? Is there a difference? I mean, maybe what I understand is in a startup, probably you'll have to do a lot more because there'll be probably only 4 or 5 people to work with. Yeah, yeah. So can you, yeah, give us some insight on this?
So, disclaimer, I
Hmm.
have not worked in a startup, so I
Hmm.
may not be the best person to answer this. Neither have I done any research on this topic. So,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I'll write
Hmm.
this down and it would be a homework for me. But what I would be able to speculate is in an established organization, you would have set processes, you would have
Hmm.
set talent requirements that this is what my organization delivers to the customer. It would still be susceptible to disruption, but not so much as a startup which is trying to figure out its value proposition to the end customer. So in that sense, it's more about ensuring that the processes run properly and trying to find that additional value that you can add in terms of how you are contributing. But
Hmm.
when it comes to startup, it would have very specific requirements in terms, since there are small number of workforce. So in that case, the requirements would be heavier on as the startup grows, quickly ramping up the team. So you need to have a strong recruitment and onboarding team which can look for the talent which you want fast, because startups usually target fast growth. So you want
Hmm.
the right talent to be found fast, come on board and start delivering. And once they are here, I think till the time the organization grows, it's a small team, so you have to ensure that everyone is gelling well. And
Hmm.
otherwise, it's all the same. I really don't know how the performance
Hmm.
cycle, etc., of a startup comes in, because if you're running on seed funding, and if you are not at the revenue targets that you are, I really don't have the information
Hmm.
on how the performance
Correct.
targets and the rewards happen.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. I have HR experience and want to crack that. Could you suggest courses that would help enhance my profile?
So one course which I would recommend anyone being
Hmm.
HR or no,
Hmm.
learn Excel. If you want to excel in life, please learn Excel. There are a lot of
Yeah.
there are a lot of good courses on
Hmm.
Coursera, LinkedIn, etc. If you are looking for something from an HR perspective, and you can do something on industrial relations, because if that is there on your profile, it does add uh, like it's a personal opinion, or I don't know if it's a personal bias for me. Now I need to reflect on this, but
Hmm.
uh, that does add value. Other than that, you can do courses on data analytics with HR specific focus, how HR
Yeah.
analytics is happening.
Correct.
Although there would be a second question to this. If you are learning HR analytics, you need to have an understanding of the HR function. So here I am
Hmm.
assuming that working in HR, you already have an
Yeah.
understanding of the HR function. So a deeper study of that is not going to add so much value as something on HR analytics and how new technologies like AI, ML are going to impact HR. So this.
Hmm. Okay. Tell me something. So since you are talking about AI and ML, so let's take that question about what's the future like for HR function as a function. How much has the AI and chatbots and all the ML stuff that is now there? Uh, how much of a disruption is that creating in human resource? And is it going to make the work easier, or are the HR people, some of the HR people are going to lose their job, or it's going to be upgraded to something else? What's the future like?
Okay, so I don't think people will
Hmm.
lose their jobs, but
Hmm.
the way the jobs happen would
Hmm.
change.
Okay.
Uh, from what I understand, there will be two aspects to this. One is how the functions in themselves work, and then how
Hmm.
the employee-facing aspect of HR will change.
Hmm.
So right now, if there is any requirement that an employee has, a lot of organizations have already put up services like chatbots, which work on machine learning to
Hmm.
generate responses to employee queries. If they want to put in a leave, or if they want to inquire something about policies, these chatbots can generate those responses.
Hmm.
Now, I would say that these responses would be limited and not every query of the employee would be answered. However, going ahead with improvement in technology, the accuracy of these systems can go to a point where a daily interaction with the HR business partner may not necessarily be required.
Okay.
So here, the HR business partner would have to start thinking on how, over the course of the career of an employee or over the course of the talent life cycle, they can start adding value. So thinking
Hmm.
more long term and focusing on more value adding aspects rather than resolving employee queries on a day-to-day basis, which would start getting automated. And
Correct.
right now it's only on the policies maybe and a few operational things, but how an employee plans one's career, how the employee is accessing learning, how learning programs are recommended to an employee, that can become more automated based on the data that has been captured so far of that employee's journey in the organization or in the past organization. And uh, the recommendations would be much more focused and much more valuating, which would help the person to build one's career faster and in a better manner. Now,
Hmm.
coming to how the functions work within them. So whatever routine activities, say you have to draft a communication today, you can use chat gpt to draft the
Hmm.
letter and then edit it.
Yeah.
So the efficiency of how these functions work, how they work with data, that is going to improve a lot. So the kind of uh, mechanical activities which are happening, they may not be required, and things would start becoming again, in the long run, how do we change processes? That will be the kind of work which will be more impactful, and I think that's going to be more rewarding as well
Hmm.
in terms
Okay.
of on that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Okay. Okay. Tell me, what's a typical day for you as a senior manager HR at Reliance?
So I'll say every HR would have a different day based
Hmm.
on which functions they are in. I'm in a business partnering role currently.
Hmm.
So, function to function, your typical day would differ. And
Hmm.
again, in HR, you will not have a same routine every day. It would be something new based on what time of year, what programs you are running, and what has been the recent havoc, which is
Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Okay.
so. So
So,
if
but
I
if
have
you
to narrow it
really,
down,
yeah, yeah, if you
yeah,
have to
if I
really
have to
like,
narrow it down,
chart your day, like, okay, the first half is all meetings and the second half is all that, and something like that, or
so first you can start with, you have to look at your emails. I think that's typical
hmm.
of any function that you are in.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
after that, the function or the business that you are working for, what are the key priorities that you have for the day? Where are you from a talent standpoint? What are the vacancies that you are looking to fill in? Then you can maybe contact the candidates. You can contact the recruitment team to understand what is the progress on that. After that, you can draw. You'll be working on development plans with some of the leaders or some of the employees as part of their development programs. So you would take a stock of that. How is that happening? Do they require any support? You would have a general interaction with few of the employees. It would not be
Hmm.
possible to do that daily. You are talking to all the employees, but definitely few, so that over a span of time you are having a connect with everyone,
Hmm.
meeting the business head, understanding their requirements, any kind of talent interventions that we are running, we want to update them on that. Whatever requirements they have, we can take those up. Then later on, working on what could be the new talent interventions that come up. Then there are some centrally run programs like goal setting. There could be learning interventions which are happening to sensitizing people to ensure that these are driven correctly. There are some
Hmm.
program managements which are happening, like if you have a training program going on for a cadre, like say graduate engineer trainings, uh, you have a word with them to ensure that that is going properly. Then there are employee grievances which come up, so you
Hmm.
put some time aside to ensure that you are addressing those. And finally, reporting and maintaining dashboards to understand how are we on attrition, how are we on diversity, how are we on the employee costs, and all of the key parameters which are required, ensuring that that is being monitored and seeing if anything
Hmm.
needs redressal. So that's typically a day.
That's a
There are a
typical
lot of
day. Hmm.
additional things which come up on a case to case basis.
Mm. Okay, there's a question about what to do if an employee is not disciplined and punctual with his work. How does a HR person, deals with it? This also, I also have a question alongside this. Uh, what are the kind of challenges that you've ever had? Do you have any one challenge that really pops out right now, as in something that was a difficult situation, and how did you overcome it as an HR person?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So, employee performance,
Hmm.
it is an aspect that we, it is a key aspect that we have to work on. And there are situations wherein you would have employees where their performance or their conduct is not at par with the organization's expectation. So yes, I have had this
Hmm.
challenges. So the way you handle it is first, as I said, empathy. You need to have a word with the employee to understand what is it that is causing it. You
Hmm.
have to look at the frequency at which this behavior has been repeated, and uh, if it has been repeated, then there definitely some interventions would have happened earlier. But
Hmm.
if it's a situation that has just come up, you try and have a conversation with the employee, you try and have a conversation with the manager, with the peers of an employee, to see where is it that the employee is facing issues. Many a times it's not competency or work related, it could be something personal that the employee needs help with. So as an organization, how you can help the employee on that, you can guide them. If there are any programs within the organizations, you can help them come on board for that. If it is something regarding the competency where the employee is not able to do an a certain amount of work which is given to them, then you have them either mapped to some senior person to do a hand holding and coaching. You assign learning programs to them. If it is something more of a mindset change, that they are just not they are being casual about the approach, then you need to do some coaching for them. So in that way, you try and help the employee to come up to speed. If that is not working out, so far, thankfully, I have not had to deal with a situation like this.
Okay.
But if that is not working out, then I'm sure every organization has some protocols laid out how they deal with non-performance. It may also lead to termination of services.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about the career growth, the career progression in HR in an organization. So from entry level to senior level and pre MBA, post MBA. So maybe with an MBA, how much of a how many years of jump you're getting in this particular function, and without an MBA, where you are starting, and how many years it's taking. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of organizational, like a lot of impact on this is made by the organizational norms. What are the
Okay.
norms within, say, your particular company, when the time period between which they would allow a promotion.
Hmm.
So generally, it's 2 years. After every 2 years, you would be able to get a promotion.
Hmm.
Now, when I talk about the career progression, first is you would start from an individual contributor role.
Okay.
Then, generally, there is another step where you have an individual contributor role but with higher responsibilities. Then you would move to a team lead role, wherein you would have people reporting to you and you would be responsible for a key deliverable of a function.
Hmm.
Now, after that, you can move to a function head, uh, but this will not necessarily happen after 2 years. A lot
Hmm.
of emphasis is put on what is the understanding that you have of other different functions. So
Okay.
if you can get a lot of movements, like you have worked in performance and rewards for some time, then you move to a talent development role or an organizational development role. Then if you can move to a business partnering role,
Hmm.
some time with an industrial relations team. So this helps you develop a holistic understanding. But after a team lead, the next would be you would be able to lead a function. uh, and after that, based on how the organization structure is, you can go to a business HR head, or you can go to a CHRO position. That there
Okay.
can be, if it's a very large conglomerate, it could be a CHRO of one of the business units, and then post that you can move to a CHRO of the entire group. So this
Okay.
depends from company to company, but this is largely how
Hmm.
the progression happens.
Okay. Hmm.
And one thing which I did not cover is consulting. That is, I
Yeah. Hmm.
don't have a direct visibility on how
Okay.
consulting works.
Hmm.
However, that is an interesting prospect if you are willing to work in a role where it's, so generally consulting is always projected as a hectic uh,
Huh. Yeah.
work profile.
Correct.
You would have, but the benefits of that is you get to travel a lot. It
Yeah.
adds a lot of value. You would be working on different projects over a
Hmm.
short span of time.
Hmm.
Also, your peers would be working with different projects, so there is a lot of cross functional learning that you get.
Hmm.
You are able to upskill your know-how very fast. And also, since you're working with different organizations, so your know-how is not limited to one particular industry or
But tell
one.
me something. This is management consulting that you're talking about, right?
I'm
Or is
talking
it
about
HR
HR
consulting?
consulting. I'm talking about HR consulting.
Okay, so HR consulting also has similar
HR
format
consulting.
like management consulting, wherein
Yes,
you
yes,
you are going to different organizations, as in they are your clients, and then you are trying to solve an issue there.
absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely. So
okay,
it works like a typical consulting
okay,
uh, industry. So
okay.
there are dedicated HR consulting organizations as well. So
Okay,
it allows you to get a lot of learning, and after consulting also you can make a switch back into business HR function. And
okay,
there there is a lot of demand as well for consultants who want to come back into business roles, primarily because of the uh, additional know-how that they are able to build in that consulting. Although it may not be for everyone,
Mm.
based on the role or the project or the team that you are in. uh, you may be able to work at a very fast pace, and I won't comment on the working hours. It
Mm.
depends
Mm.
from company to company, but
Mm.
it's not necessarily restricted to 9.
Correct. Hmm. So yeah, so for consulting, I believe in all functions, in all domains, uh, work-life balance kind of is a little
So again, it
stressful.
depends. That's the general idea which I have got from
Okay.
my colleagues.
Mm.
It depends on how you are able to manage it. I have worked, like I have interacted with people or my friends who are in consulting
Okay.
who have a very good work-life balance, and
Mm.
I have friends whom if I call them now, they'll be working. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we cannot get a HR consulting person to do a session for us because they're never free.
maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about a few myths, common myths that are associated with HR function, and yeah, so how real and how not so real those myths are. So you might have come across a few, like, your friends might have asked you a few questions like, oh, I mean, like, look at this funny reel about HR. Doing events and organizing events. That's
So,
yeah.
yes, the biggest myth which was busted for me, like I had
Mm,
this, was
mm,
HR is chill. I realized it's not.
yeah.
But again,
Okay.
it depends. If you can chill in a business, in a different business role as well, and in HR you could be working late hours. Depends at the time of the year that the
Mm,
what is it that you are trying to deliver, and also
correct.
the kind of initiatives that are being worked on in the team.
Mm, mm,
Second is HR is only recruitment. I have understood that
mm,
it's not just recruitment, it's a part of it. There is so much which happens other than recruitment, which adds a lot of value to the business. And the third myth is HR only deals with employees. That is not true. If you have a new
mm,
business coming up, what are going to be your new talent requirements? How will the
correct.
organization structure be? What would be the operating philosophy? All of this gets worked on, and HR uh, delivers this requirements. And it's not necessary that you have to be in an employee facing role only. There are strategic roles within HR
Mm,
which works on enhancement of current businesses, or organizational restructuring, or new organizations.
okay.
Lastly, I this is no longer a myth, but
Mm,
there is a lot of inflow. HR and technology now go hand in hand. Without using technology, you would not be able to uh, increase the efficiency of your processes, reach out to more employees, and be more effective as an HR function. So there is a
okay.
big role that technology has to play in HR, and understandably so in other disciplines as well. But HR is not left behind in terms of technology.
Okay. 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 There's a question about, is it a myth that HR earns less than other domains?
I'm sure it's no longer,
Mm,
firstly, it's not true.
mm,
And that's it's no longer a myth that HR is earning as much as other domains. But this again depends from organization to organization, and role to role. Someone in a consulting role, uh, definitely it is expected that as per industry standards, consultants do get paid more.
mm,
Also, what kind of value HR as a function is delivering in your organization. Based
mm,
on that, if it's a very talent heavy business where things are continuously changing, and HR as a function has to be on top to ensure that employees are continuously reskilling, and the new talent which is required is completely brought up. And say if you're growing your talent in house, or ensuring that you always have the sources where you're able to get your talent from, then definitely HR has a larger say in how the business goes ahead. So based on that, it again depends from company to company, organization to organization, and role to role. But it's
mm.
not true that HR will be paid lesser. It's eventually what value you bring to the table.
Okay. Okay. Is there any particular kind of profile that the the companies, the hiring people are looking for, and from the firms for HR professionals, for HRM positions?
So it depends on the talent pool which is available.
Hmm.
If your company is an engineering heavy company, then they would
Okay.
ideally want someone from an engineering background who can come in and has an understanding of the engineering aspects, the manufacturing aspects. If it's
Okay.
something in insurance, and if you have worked previously in an insurance company, or if it's finance and banking, uh, or if it is IT, and if you have worked previously in IT, then you will then the organizations, it again depends. If they
Hmm.
want to bring someone with a different perspective, they may not want to bring someone from the same line. But
Right.
if they want someone who can understand what the organization is doing and accordingly drive the HR programs, they would be looking for someone. Having said that, these are just preferences and not the deciding points. What the
Hmm.
companies will look for is what you have done in your 2 years of an MBA,
Hmm.
how
Okay.
you have built your career, what is it that you offer, what is it that you bring to your table, and they would assess your and holistic candidature.
Okay. Okay. There was a question about is there any difference in the skill sets required for HR business function, HR consulting? You've already covered HR business function skills. HR consulting also similar kind of, or you need to be more, travel savvy and.
So again, in at business partnering is a
Hmm.
radically different role than HR consulting. In
Hmm.
business partnering, you are implementing a lot of programs which are designed by the central functions or the COEs. So you have to kind of, you are an implementer, so you are driving things. So you have to look at efficiency and effectiveness with what the programs are given. As a consultant, you should have the know-how of how different aspects in HR work, how different aspects in an organization works to help
Hmm.
design these programs, or if you are designing the implementation strategy. So the kind of skills are different from this aspect. Now, when we talk about stakeholder management, daily when an HR business partner is interacting with say employees or businesses, they are talking about the near term and the long term requirements.
Hmm.
But as a consultant, if they are interacting with the senior leaders, it would be a lot of leaders from the HR fraternity through whom they'll be getting the inputs on how they want the HR function to be driven ahead. And also,
Okay.
if they are interacting with someone from the business, that would be for very specific requirements which would be pertaining to the project. Having said that, that there is a radical difference, because the inputs that the consultant is looking for from the business is to design a program, versus for a HR business partner, it is to drive and support the employees and the business on a continued basis. So
Okay.
these are two aspects that they differ.
Okay. Okay. Can you give us a few resume tips? Uh, uh, and generic ones, as in, the ones that you must keep in mind when you are writing your resume.
Okay, so firstly, a disclaimer again.
Huh.
Uh, Once you land up in your college,
Huh.
there would likely be a team, or your placement coordinators, or your faculty will guide you on how you should go and make the resume. So it's always advisable that you stick to that profile unless you are absolutely sure that a different format is going to really help you stand out. With that, I'll give you a few tips on. So it's always advised that unless you should keep your resume a one pager,
Mm.
regardless of how much experience you have, because when the recruiters come to campus, they will be quickly screening through a lot of CVs, and anything more than one page may not necessarily get looked at.
Mm.
Second, it will always be advised that you have your impact points coming first. If you have done really good in academics, that can come
Mm.
first in your CV. If
Okay.
then whatever is the second most impactful thing, if you have done really well in if you have previous work excellence, if you have done
Mm.
really well over there, then you can mention that. then your say positions of responsibility, co-curricular activities. But if you have done really well in co-curricular activities, it will help you stand out. Like if you have played at national level, then you
Mm.
can take a decision to place that up. You should
Okay.
treat the one pager of your CV as real estate. Real estate is expensive, so what you are writing is going to communicate to the potential recruiter
Mm.
as to who you are as a person. So ensure that you are being careful and not writing anything which you feel is not going to add value to the towards the profile that you are looking for, or to the organization that you are going or you're looking to join.
Mm.
Next, you should always get your CV reviewed by multiple people. Now, when you are writing some of the impactful points that you have worked on, you are writing it with your own understanding. You have been through that process. So, when you are drafting that sentence, you already have an understanding. So, you feel that, okay, reading this, it exactly conveys what I want to.
Correct. Yeah.
So this is something that if I go back, I would want to redo this.
Mm.
Spend a lot of time, give judicious time to each and every point in your CV, and talk to a lot of people, some seniors from your college. If you can get time with alumni, if you can get time with any recruiters uh, from your college who may have been working for different organizations, and get them to review the CV. Ask them pointed questions. When you read this point, what did you understand?
Mm.
Whatever their understanding is, think, is this what you want to communicate?
Correct.
Because your interaction with the recruiter is going to be just that one page CV, and they are going
Right.
to get a lot of those resumes. And if they will see one, two, 3 points, and if it's no longer interesting, and if they are
Mm.
pressed for time, it may get like kept aside.
Correct.
So spending a lot of time on your CV and having the right CV will ensure it will be the difference between getting that interview call versus not getting that interview call,
Mm.
where you land up in an organization as in an organization.
Mm.
So do that judiciously. And thirdly, don't worry if you feel when you land in your college that you don't have a lot of points to add to your CV. Your colleagues have uh, done a lot of things, so you don't have to worry about that. You just have to focus on what you have done, ensuring that that gets captured properly, and what you can do now that you are in the college that are you taking every opportunity, and how you are building your profile from that. That is going to add a lot of value. So these are some of the key bits. Rest, your college committees, your seniors will guide you, so they have been through that process, so you can definitely take that advice.
Okay. Is it advisable to have a work experience post undergraduate or an MBA directly? What your approach was, of course, you had work experience. So, do you think that helps, or as a fresher, is it and is it a problem in any
I
way?
say that does not make a difference.
Hmm.
uh, Companies prefer freshers as much as they prefer people with experience. Although I have heard that a few organizations may have an inclination to hire freshers, though that's not necessarily true. If you have an excellent profile, your CV is going to reach them, and if your CV has what it takes to get you the uh, call to the interview, I think after that it's all like you're on the same platform. It's up to you to convince
Hmm.
the interviewer. So that doesn't make a lot of difference. Although your work ex should be able to justify what is it that you have learned, how is
Hmm.
it that you are going to add value going ahead. From a fresher, I don't think that would be expected, since they may not have that industry exposure.
Correct. Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't really make a lot of difference, honestly.
Does your college really matter to get into a good company, or you may have started with a mediocre college but do well later in your career?
So it is true that you can start with the mediocre college and do really well, but
Hmm.
it's also true that your college adds credibility
Hmm.
and it opens a few doors right away. Like if there's a certain company, certain consulting firm which visits a certain set of colleges, and if you want to go there right away, then being in a college where that company visits will help you more. But having said that, it does not mean that you can join some other college and maybe right out of campus you work for a different company. You build your profile over the years and then eventually go over there. Uh, that is very much possible. I have people who have done that, who have landed up in the companies which they can't get into, even if the company has visited their campus or not.
Okay.
So it's a long game, and but yes, fair bit college does help in the immediate run. In the long run, uh, you will still be able to get those opportunities.
Hmm. Okay, if someone has done a general MBA and then is moving to HR, while other person has done MBA HR, is there any difference in preference that companies give? Also, what would you suggest among the two?
Okay, so I
Hmm.
see this question as an
Hmm.
HR right out as a non-HR
Hmm.
MBA grad right out of college you are applying for an HR role. So again, this depends on the policy of the company, the way the
Hmm.
recruitment process is designed. There may be certain roles which may be open for everyone to apply. So in that case, there would be organizations which would be keen to have a person from a non-HR background working in an HR role. So just to tell you this, the last three managers that I have worked with, all were from non-HR backgrounds, all had
Okay.
worked in business earlier and then had moved
Okay.
to HR.
Hmm.
So even if you're not getting that opportunity right out of college, you would get that later on in your career.
Okay.
And it goes both ways, HR to
Hmm.
non-HR, non-HR to.
Okay. Three books that you would recommend that are probably also on your list.
Okay, so whenever it's come to reading books, I have
Hmm.
read a lot of fiction,
Okay.
and
Hmm.
I would not want to recommend that. Definitely. So, one book which I have read, which I really liked, the autobiography of Steve Jobs. It talks
Hmm.
about the journey of how driven Steve Jobs was as a person. He was not. Steve Wozniak was the technical person. Steve
Hmm.
was more of, he was driven to make the perfect product, and how that played a role in building Apple as a company. It's really good to have that understanding of how different people are adding value to a business. It's
Hmm.
not just technical or just not non-technical, just not commercial, but how different things come together. So that's one thing that I would recommend. Second book is The Alchemist. This is by Paulo Coelho. It's a fiction. The reason I liked it so much is because it's a unique story. It's inspiring. It teaches you to have faith and imagine something different. So it's a feel good story. You can definitely go ahead and read that. And lastly, as an automobile enthusiast, I had read the book on the life of the automobile. So I have it over here actually. It's by Stephen Parisian. So I don't know if this is visible. So if there are automobile enthusiasts, you can definitely go ahead and read this. Not it, it just doesn't talk about how different cars were and how they have evolved, but how the industry as a whole evolved. Right, starting from uh, the engine to how the carts were driven by the engines, and then what were the different models, how did different brands come up, what were their unique value propositions, how did manufacturing play a key role for Ford, how were the industrial relations at that time, how did the technology evolve, how did things like war and macroeconomic aspects play a role in how the
Hmm.
automobile as an industry or any kind of industry evolves. So that's a very good read. You should definitely go ahead and read it if you are interested in automobiles.
Okay, yeah. Before we wrap up, any tips for our ZAT takers and for people who are aiming for HR career in HR?
Okay, so people who are aiming for HR, I'll wish you all the best. There are no further tips than what it has been.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's something that you would enjoy when you get into it. You get
Hmm.
to make an impact to people's lives on a daily basis, and it's eventually what value you add in the role, at your own personal level, that is going to define what kind of impact you have on the business and the people. So good luck. And people who are preparing, so have they taken ZAT, and are
No,
they,
that is going to be in Jan. Yeah.
so again, best of luck.
Hmm. Yeah.
uh,
Any tip uh, off the cuff?
yes, so I'll tell you all what helped me.
Hmm.
I was pretty confident that CAT results were going to turn up well. So I was
Hmm.
very chill while doing that. In fact, I was taking a call कि ये क्वेश्चन आता है लेकिन लंबा जाएगा तो मुझे नहीं करना है, मैं आगे चला जाता हूँ. So I think that helped me select the right question. So have a calm mindset, and I think rest of it you would have prepared over the years, and there are no quick tips that is going to help if the preparation is not there. Unfortunately, sorry for that.
Hmm.
But I'm sure you will all do well. And in the interviews, just be yourself, be thorough with what you have done so far, and why is it that you want to do something. What the panelists would be looking for is, have you reflected on what has happened so far, and how are you able to use that experience going ahead. Second, second, that looking at the competency, that if we bring you in our organization, are you going to step up and be that professional to enter the industry, uh, that we expect our students to be. So there is no magic pill or something that is going to help you. Just be yourself. uh, have some macroeconomic understanding. What are some of, there are so many things happening in the world right now. How are they impacting the Indian economy? How are they impacting different economies? This will not necessarily be a point of discussion, but if it comes up, if you are able to talk about this in the group discussions, etc., that is going to add value and is going to place you a notch higher than your peers. uh,
Hmm.
that's it. Otherwise, I'm sure all of you will do well.
All right. Okay. That's all we have time for this session. Thank you, all the attendees, for all the lovely questions, and thank you, Wales Dsouza, for for giving us such insights on human resource management and also insights on ZAT and test prep and everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kalyani. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day and all the best.